What's up, everybody? Welcome to this holiday-esque edition of Age of Quarantine. I'm David Castillo. I'll be your host today, and we're going to be live with Jimmy Wizard from the very amazing post-hardcore band Higher Power. I absolutely love these guys. Think that they are just a massively just talented and cool band with a real point of view, and I'm really excited to talk to Jimmy. We've been trying to get this together for a couple of weeks now that he's on UK time and all this, so looking forward to having Jimmy. I hope everybody's been safe and cool, and just trying to get through these days best as they can, and fighting for the changes that we need in this world. Here's Jimmy right now. Let's see here. Boop, boop. Heading away. Connecting.
Sup?
Hey, my man.
How's it going? I'm doing good. I'm good. Just chilling. You got a drink?
Here.
I got my big bottle of water. Staying hydrated,
Love
man.
it. I have like a nice beer that I'm having. I'm getting some time in nature, and now I'm here talking to you, man.
You're chilling. I've been out in the nature too, but I gotta stay hydrated, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Heartburn.
Absolutely. So, Jimmy, I start these interviews off all in the same way because I like to kind of ground ourselves in this weird time.
Yeah.
If you aren't at home now, and home is still Leeds for you?
Yeah, it's back in Leeds, man. So.
Yeah. So, if you weren't at home, do you know where you would be right now?
I think we'd be in Europe doing this is where all the festivals would be in summer. So I'm pretty sure we'd be in Europe, but I'm also kind of just like the date and the time of the day is just completely disappeared for me.
For sure.
I think it's July. It's July now. Maybe we'd even be coming to America now. So
yeah. Unfortunately for us, it's not happening. But when we get a little bit safer, of course, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah. I can't wait to come back. Yeah, we had a tour that was in July that didn't get announced, obviously, because everything. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll be coming back over. So
yeah, absolutely. For fucking sure. So good to just kind of situate it like that, and then basically these kind of interviews, basically we just take it from your musical path. What we're trying to do is trace it all the way back to today.
Okay, so, that's it. Yeah.
What I always want to know really about, and I feel like it's really important because they're the formative experiences with music that I think shape you without you really realizing it a lot, which was what was the kind of the earliest sort of memories you have of music, and when did you know that music was a bigger part of your life?
I think my first memory of songs is a David Lee Roth song, Living in Paradise. It must be just like living in paradise. I remember, I think my dad was into metal, and I think that was the middle ground for him and my mom. So in the car, he'd play that when we were all together, because that's one of the first songs. I think that was in the middle, do you know what I mean? It had guitars and shit for him, but my mom could hear the melody and shit. So
that'd probably be Bon Jovi over here or something,
Yeah, and then later, my mom did definitely listen to Bon Jovi, but I remember that being the first song I ever, I can think back that I ever really took in and was oh, I like this. This chorus is really cool. It just caught me. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I remember I was oh, I like the sound of this. And I'd always be oh, put that one on. And then Perry Mason by Ozzy Osbourne was another one. I remember I'd request that. I really like that for some reason. I don't know why I like them, but I just like the sound. And I'd be oh, dude, Perry Mason. I remembered the name. And then by Ozzy Osbourne, I'd always request that. So those are two of the earliest songs.
Me too. It was
a
big song.
Dude, it's so good.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
29. So you're a little bit younger than me. And Perry Mason was I was probably in middle school then, and it was Ozzy Osbourne major comeback. I remember like anticipating this thing, you know. But for you, that was
Yeah,
the first time that you ever heard Ozzy Osbourne sing. Probably that, right?
I'm sure. It was that album for sure. I'm pretty sure. Maybe my dad was playing other stuff that I didn't really take in, but yeah, those two. Because I've thought about this. I like always think about this stuff, and I definitely thought about it, and I was like, those are the two songs I remember. Like I would request them, and I'd enjoy listening to them, and like I didn't know anything else about music, and and I think obviously being from the UK, Oasis was my aunt would always pick me up from school in little like when I was a kid, like 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 7 or 8 years old, and she would play. Oh, she always had Oasis on, and I always thought the lyrics were kind of funny because they didn't make sense to me. They don't really make sense anyway a lot of the time, and they didn't make any sense to me. But I liked the songs as well, and I'd always be like, oh, put Oasis on, like
Yeah, I love
So
them. I'm a big fan, but yeah, I think it was
yeah,
Noel who is like, so what did the lyrics for Champagne Supernova mean? He's like, they don't mean anything, mate. Like I was on
yeah,
drugs,
yeah.
you know, like they're just
That
there.
was it, and it's like I'd always hear slowly walking down the hall faster than a cannibal. I'd literally, as my little kid's brain would literally picture a giant cannonball or bowling ball going down this long hallway, and I'd think, like the bowling screens when they'd have the little funny cartoons.
Yeah,
I'd always picture that, and it'd just be in my head, and I'd hear that, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's a really fucking weird, funny lyric, like to like, it's a funny thing to say in a song."
and it's kind of playful, right? It's kind of surrealist.
Yeah,
It's kind of like it plays to, I think, like a younger child's sort of sensibilities and stuff like that. So, did you
yeah.
ever like pick up any other instruments growing up or anything like that, or was it just kind of like you found your path more through singing?
Yeah, I remember again, I must have been like 6 or 7, maybe around that. My first year of school, they had like drum lessons, and you had to sign up for it, and you had to go and do like a pre-drum lesson, and if you were good enough, you you got to do the you got to become part of the drum. You get to leave school and go do drums, but and I went because I don't know, I just wanted to play some music because obviously I'd heard it my whole life, and I was like straight away introduced to like heavy music, like guitar, rock music, heavy music. So I was like, oh, I want to play some heavy music, and I went to the drum lesson like tryout. I didn't get it. They were like, hell yeah, they were like, oh, you can't do it. You're not good enough. I have shit coordination. And then I remember not really being too bummed out about it. I was like, oh, whatever. And then the more I got into actually like bands and knowing who they were, and I could pick my own music, I just really wanted to learn guitar. So guitar's always been, and then I got given a guitar by my aunt's boyfriend at the time. He gave me a guitar. He was like, "Oh, have a guitar." So that's how it all got started with me playing guitar. But yeah, originally I just wanted to play anything. I think I was just like,
Sure. Yeah, it
I
wasn't like
wasn't.
a particular path or something, because you
Yeah,
hear so many different stories about, like Brian from Russian Circles is just like, they didn't, like the music store I went to, they had basses and like they literally had very little guitars. So I just picked a bass. Like it was that simple.
pick
And like
bass.
he's one of the greatest bass players in heavy music, in my opinion. And for some people, it's,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I had parents that wanted me to learn piano and play a lot of different things and whatever. So
I wish I yeah. Looking back, I wish I'd like learned some piano, or like, oh, especially now I'm a singer, I'd learned some kind of things. I'd learned more about. I feel like people who learn piano learn so much more about pitch and like just like different things that they know more about music. I just literally was like, oh, I want to learn guitar. My friend was like, well, I'll learn bass then, and we learned power chords, and we just started playing together in bands, and that was it. We just
and this
started
was
playing on.
this was all in Leeds, right? So you're born and raised there.
No, I grew up near just outside of London originally, so this is like down south.
Down south.
Yeah, down south near London.
Well,
So
thank you. All right, I'm
yeah,
understanding things here. We
yeah,
get
yeah, and
as well.
actually, no one in higher power is from Leeds at all. Like, I've lived here maybe 9 years now, but
Wow. Leeds
Yeah,
hardcore,
none of
number one export. Not even. I've been
not
living
even
a
from
lie.
Leeds. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Literally living a lie. I
I,
always say this.
I, I'm
I
thinking
li
you're buying it.
Yeah, we only live in Leeds because it's so cheap, and obviously being in a band, you don't really make a lot of money. So I feel like that's literally we're just all here
Not
because we
Yes, no,
we
definitely. I mean, that's really interesting because I know a lot of bands here obviously do that as well. It's like, hey, if I'm touring all the time and I'm putting a lot of work into this, we're gonna make sure to have our living situations pretty tightened up. So when we leave, it'll be
yeah.
cool for us to kind of do well. So when you were kind of picking up guitar and you were like, cool, I'm starting to figure out my bands, my music. What was that sort of like, and what kind of started drawing you into kind of this world of punk and hardcore and kind of underground heavier tunes?
Um, I think it was just music TV. I obviously just knew I liked heavy music from growing up hearing it. Like, cause like my dad was into like he'd be playing like Metallica, like Suicidal Tendencies, like he played Megadeth, um, he played like Guns N' Roses and stuff. But I knew I wasn't really into like the classic rock. Like I was like, I'm not really into classic rock. I just knew I liked the more heavy stuff. Um, and I started getting into like I'd obviously see Slipknot and Corn and all that. I so it was like new metal was like big on TV when I was a kid.
Definitely.
Um, and then new metal and like Blink 182 and stuff. And I liked it all. Like I literally liked the heavy music, but I also loved the stuff with melody. I loved all the pop punk and then I got deeper into and then like I got way deeper in like so where I grew up as well. When I started going to shows, I've started going to shows about like 12 years old, um, and that was when ska punk and like moon ska and stuff was really big in my
Yeah.
area. So yeah, so I was into metal, I was into new metal, I was into like all of that. But I also like my local scene was like ska punk and like skate punk and it's like super fast and so I was really drawn into that as well. I just liked, I wasn't like this is this scene and this is this and this is this. I was just like, oh, it was all the same to me. Like,
And
do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I feel like in the
Corn were the
UK,
same as a ska band. Like,
yeah, and I think that in the UK, those things tend to cross pollinate, I think, a little bit more. But even
yeah,
thinking back to, I mean, I've seen Catch 22 and Madball play a show together, like,
yeah, dude, that's
but
so cool.
yeah, so back in the day, I mean, I feel like it was just bands and rock music and different people kind of situating themselves in it, but sometimes it was in super formal, you know what I mean? Like here we have this like genre
Yeah,
show, we're giving it to you, presenting
yeah,
it.
it'd just be your show. You'd just be stoked to see any kind of alternative band. Like,
Yeah,
so yeah, it was more like that was it. I just kind of went by default more into the punk and like more punk side of things because that was accessible to me. There wasn't really like a metal scene around me, and there wasn't a hardcore scene I knew of at that time. So it was like punk and ska were like super like that was that was my entry into everything. But like I said, I did like it all, man. I liked everything because I was reading Kerrang and I was watching MTV, and then so you'd have like Goldfinger into like Metallica, and I just thought it was all cool. I just thought this is
yeah,
all cool, and then skate videos as well, like that had like Pennywise stuff like that on it. So
sure.
I just thought that was super cool as well.
Yeah, I've talked about that a lot. Like for me, skateboarding shaped a lot of my musical taste. Like
Yeah, yeah,
Jamie Thomas might be responsible for like the reason I like heavy music.
yeah.
So
All the zero parts, yeah,
that stuff was a big, kind of entry point into like hardcore and a lot of like underground hip hop and stuff like Shorties and Alien Workshop videos too for that kind of shit.
yeah.
New York was huge. I
It's
mean,
so
I'm from
cool.
Islands, so New York was like the shit here. Hell, Hunter, all that.
Yeah, that's like me where I grew up. I grew up like the equivalent of Long Island to New York. Do you know what I mean? I was like an hour outside of London. So
Yeah.
like nothing was really going on around me, but London was where it's at, and you were always trying to get there to go to shows and stuff, and like
Yeah. I
you
went
know.
to, yeah, I played a show, I think, at some place called the Three Cocks outside of London or something
Oh,
like that.
the Fighting Cocks, yeah, that's Kingston.
Yeah, and it was
That's
kind of
super
further
cool.
out, and I was like, I feel like I'm in the Long Island of like London or something. Like I
Yeah, yeah,
out into the burbs, you know? And I
dude,
was
yeah,
like,
Kingston was like big for like kind of like emo shows and you know, like it was like the more like melodic punk scene was there. It was super cool. I seen some fucking really cool like shows there.
yeah, totally.
Um,
And that some of the bands that passed through that joint were very
yeah,
amazing, sure. So I was like, whoa.
so good. Yeah.
So as you're starting to play and doing stuff like that, you're kind of forming your kind of worldview, your music and stuff like that. When did you
Yeah.
actually start playing in a band, and when did you kind of start saying, "Hey, you know what? Maybe not guitar, maybe singing might be where I want it to go." What do you? How did that kind of happen?
Probably like very early on into music, like into me getting into music and going to shows. As soon I was playing guitar, maybe like 11-ish to 12, and I started going to shows about the same time. And then as soon as I went into we have secondary school, like high school. As
Yeah,
soon as I went into that, I was automatically friends with guys older than me. So I was in like the bottom year, and I only had friends in the top year that were older than me, and they'd drive me to shows, and they were doing bands, and I was pretty much like
good
it
friends.
was so, yeah, it was so good, like because no one in my like age group was into what I was into. And obviously I could just kind of go out and do whatever I wanted. So I'd just go off with these older kids, and they'd show me like they'd take me to shows, and they took me to like festivals and stuff. And so one of them had a band, and would like he could like already he could like kind of record at home and stuff. He had like a 4-track, and he basically like had a band already, but he was like, "Oh, you can just come in the band, like you're like he just was, you know, we were just boys." um and he was like, "Oh, you should sing in this band." And I didn't sing. I was like the guy. It was like when kind of um like AFI kind of Alkaline Trio kind of dark punk. So it's
Yeah,
like they were originally like a ska band, and then they were like kind of trying to transition into a bit more of the darker kind of punk kind of sound, because that was really big. That became the next big
oh
thing
yeah,
after
Black
ska.
Veils is a huge record. I feel like there
Yeah,
were all these bands that were kind of a little more sunshined, and then all of a sudden,
yeah,
Sales AFI came in, and they're like, "Yo, we could kind of like pull off a bit of a different vibe, but kind of with a similar sound."
yeah. It's like the same scene, yeah. And it
Yeah,
was like he was like, you know, he's like, yeah, he was like, yo, we should start wearing eyeliner and like, but it was still super kind of punk. But they were like, oh, you can just like have a mic and you just scream whenever you want. So like I was this little like on it, like they were like they were so much older than me, man. I was like 12, 13, and they were like 16, 17, and they just gave me a mic. And like I wish I could find the video of it. It's gone from YouTube now, but there was a video of a show we played. It was quite big. There's like we played like our local venue, maybe like there's like 400 kids there. It's super cool, but I'm just there, and I don't really have like a purpose in the band. I'm just there at band practice, and I just pick up the mic and kind of scream and sing along to a bit of the chorus, you know. But I think they were just like, yeah, let's just give this kid a mic. He's gonna be around. So I was like,
you
I
were
was
like
like in the
the
band.
boss tone,
Yeah,
or like
I was like the hype man in a way. Yeah.
yeah. But
So
it's
like,
kind of interesting though that you were able to kind of those were kind of the beginnings, the seeds that would soon
yeah,
start to grow. So that was kind of your first experiences on stage, I'm guessing.
yeah, dude. From a very young age, like, dude, I went to like, I was like 13. I played a big show. I went to like an after party at some person's house. Like there was all these older people like making out and like smoking weed. It was like a movie. I was like, wow, this is like the music videos. Like I stayed up till like 4 in the morning. I couldn't believe people stayed awake that long. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I can't believe I've made it this far. Like, it was so cool looking back on it. Like, I'm like, no one else my age is doing that shit around me. Like, so it was like, that was it. And then I eventually got better at guitar, and I broke off and started a band with people my own age. Like, I found some people my own age, eventually started getting into the music, and I started making friends with them. And I was like, yeah, I was like, oh, we'll start our own punk band. We started like a street punk oi band. I was like, I want to do, dude, it was like, I'm literally all over the place. You know what I mean? I liked everything. So I was like, oh, I'm going to leave and do this band so I can play guitar. And, you know, we started like a street punk kind of oi band. And it kind of like, then we were supporting like, UK subs, and we supported, we were supposed to support, what was the last show we were supposed to play? We got quite big in our local scene. It was funny, like in the local punk scene, we supported like Gangrene. You know, we'd support all the bigger, older. We'd support the kind of legacy bands that would come through our small town, but there'd still be like 400 people at the show. So I was playing guitar and like kind of shouting, and that again, that was like kind of like that went from like kind of like oi street punk, and then it started getting like more like kind of towards like power violence, like His Hero Is Gone, kind of, it transitioned, you know what I mean? Everything was, yeah, just the more you'd hear, you'd be playing, and you'd see like someone, I'd be like at these punk shows, but then you'd see some crusties, and I thought, oh, they look cool, because they're like you see Disrupt patches, and I'd be like, oh, what's Disrupt? And I go home, I'd listen to shit like that, like Mouth Sewn Shut, all of that kind of scene. I started getting.
These are the things that push punk into extreme music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Extreme music. Your anti-scene, 47s, you know, which branches up into grind and death metal and amazing shit like that. So then, you just kind of like keep following your nose to heavier and heavier tunes in a way.
Yeah, and it was just like, you just discover a new thing, and you'd be like, wow, this is cool, and I want to do this. So, you know, your bands would just change every week, and you'd be like, one week someone would come to band practice and be like, oh, have you heard this record? And they'd play at you, and we'd try and write some songs like that. And then they'd come and like, oh, I've been listening to No Effects all week. And you go back to writing something a bit more like major, and like, do you know what I mean? Like, but man.
Youth is so good that way, because you just aren't kind of bound to like these bigger ideas and constructs. It just really is. There's so much immediacy in what you're learning and how you're playing at the time, right?
Yeah, and even at the time, I had no idea what like a punk was, or a scene kid, or a hardcore kid, or like people. I didn't even know I don't know what you call people that listen to ska. Like, there was no definition. Ska people. There was no like definition. We were all. It would still be the same people at every show, no matter where. Like, so I'd play like, you know, when I was in the first band, I was just kind of screaming. It was like Alkaline Trio kind of thing. And then the same kids would be at the shows where I was playing with like UK subs and stuff. And then I'd go see like Lars Fredriksson and the Bastards, and everyone, the same people would be there. And then a kind of more hardcore band supported them. And I'd be like, oh, what's this? They have their guitars high. And like, you know, it was like, and I was like, oh, that's another thing, but it's like, we're still all the same. Like, it was so innocent. You're just like, what, who's this? What's this? Like, it was all just so cool, because I was so stoked to be around people that were like interested in not pop music. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, oh, they're just into heavy music. They're just into like this scene, whatever it is. They're just into something alternative, man. It was like, so I was just taking it all in, man. I was just like, I loved it. Like I said, I've been through it all, and I was on the stage playing from a very young age, because I was very lucky to be in the right place at the right time. That there was like a solid venue. There was kids. There wasn't really a divide in what it was. You know, you wouldn't go to a hardcore show and there'd be 10 people, and then you go to this show, there'd be another 10 people. It was like you go to the same show. Like 25 to Life played I saw the flyer. I didn't go, so I was at like a more ska punk show. And then 25. There's a flyer for a 25 to life show, and I was like, "Fuck, I have to see this. This guy's got so many tattoos. It was Rick to life on the flyer." And I was like, dude, I have to see this show. It looks like it's gonna be like so cool. Like I didn't know what they were gonna sound like. I didn't have any idea. There was no way of going home and looking on the internet. I was just like, this looks so cool. Like, I want to go to this. And then I'd see a flyer and I'd be like, this looks so cool. I want to go to this. Like, but I'm so gutted I never got to see that 25 to life show, because I think that would have been like another turning point. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure, yeah. It's kind of funny. You saw and you remembered, and things that you can distinctly remember, like, fuck, it was like this legendary show or something, and like for whatever reason,
yeah,
you missed out on it. And I think it's important for people watching this, and just also think it's like the internet is not quite what it is and stuff like that. Just following these little like kind of cultural clues to kind of go and find shit. Dude, for me, Tommy from Silent Majority worked at a tattoo shop called Da Vinci Tattoo on Sunrise Highway in Long Island, New York. And Da Vinci Tattoo, in the window, there was Collector's Comics, which is a comic book store that I would go to as a young kid, and I love comic books. And then the tattoo shop would be next to, in the tattoo shop window, Tommy would put like every fucking hardcore show flyer ever. That was like,
that's so sick.
My billboard for shit. I'm like, DOD is playing this weekend. Fuck. Okay, cool. Let me talk to my own homies and see what's up. Following those clues, and it was just like, I'm like, I gotta go see this window, or else I won't get it.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah. You just look at the flyers, and you wouldn't see what they would always put a picture of the band on the flyer or something, and that's what, if that stood out to you, or the name of the band sounded cool. But that's the funny thing. Sometimes you go see a band and you'd be like, "Oh, this kind of sucks." Like, I remember my friend was like, "Oh, do you want to come and see this band, High on Fire?" And he was like, "I don't know what they sound like, but my brother says they're cool." And I was like, kind of like, I seen the flyer and it didn't look as cool. I like them now, obviously, and I realize who they are now. But at the time, as like a little kid, I was like, nah, this looks like kind of like something my dad would be into. So I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go. And he went, and he was like, dude, it was so loud, it was insane. And I'm like, and then I learned who like Matt Pike is and all this, and I'm like, oh fuck, I could have gone and seen something really cool. Like,
and it's so funny too how certain things, at least here, like certain things kind of at a certain point in your life are like, can't be for me. And now you're like, holy shit, I missed so many great death metal shows, other things like that, because I was very involved in hardcore, post-hardcore, and I'm like, this is my thing now. And I'm like, man, I fucked up. But it just is what it is. It's youth, and you're following new ideas.
At least there was like shows to go to, though. That's why I say I feel very lucky. I feel very lucky to have had older friends. Like, in a way, it was a really big blessing that older people took me under their wing, and it was a blessing that I was in the right place at the right time, where there was a scene that was actually like really thriving, and I could just play in bands, and I was like fucking like 14 when I supported the UK subs, and that just gave me no concept of like, oh, like that's impossible. I was just like, anything's possible, man. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, if you just play and you talk to people, you can do anything. You know, like maybe my mindset would be so different if I didn't get to experience that so young. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it gives you this idea that music isn't like something that's like all the way up here. It's like it goes from down here.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, yeah.
That's a really different perspective, and I think punk and hardcore and metal maybe I think a little bit less, because I feel like there were metal bands that were like stadium bands, you know, but like that would be the entry point. That was like, I learned DIY principles and things of that nature that made you go, well, why not? You know?
Yeah, like, so lucky to have found that at the right, you know, like, like I said, sometimes I think, imagine if I just never had that experience, like, and I was just like going to big arena shows, and it was it seemed so impossible. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure, yeah.
I just was like, oh, I'll never be able to do that because I don't know how to get on that stage. But I could go to shows and just get on the stage, and it's like chill. So
Yeah, definitely. And just kind of like wean your way in. So when did Higher Power kind of come into focus and start becoming a band?
maybe 5 years ago now. Um, so I always played guitar, and I'd always written songs, but I'd never like really pushed any of my ideas on anyone. I'd just
Mhm.
always play. I was like classic hardcore bassist, where like I would just play bass in the band. I'd show up, I'd copy the guitar, I just kind of go with the flow. You know, the bassist is
Yeah,
never really the writer. Yeah, you know, it's like especially in hardcore, you just play. I was just the bass player because they couldn't find one, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Um,
yeah. It was never like, hey, I got a vision for a band and let me play
yeah,
that.
and I wasn't like a fucking sick bass player that I could show up and play a riff, and people would be like, wow, because it never really sounds that good on bass, like unless you're fucking insane. And I wasn't like that level of like charisma on the bass. Um, but and then eventually I just had all these ideas, I'd had all these songs and like little riffs, and I could play guitar, and but I just never tried in it. I'd never really tried. Like I had this really good start, and then I kind of just let it fizzle out and just ended up like playing and touring, and but never really like pushing myself. And then it got to the point where I was like, oh, I've got all these ideas. I do have a vision. Like I should try and do this. And luckily my brother came and moved up to Leeds. He played drums. So this is what made it really easy. Is it was just like I was like, oh, do you want to play these songs with me? Like I want to I want to do this. This is my vision. And luckily he's my brother, and he's just down to just chill, and you know it's just nice to make music together. So I was like, yeah, you can be the drummer, and I'll play guitar, and I'll record the thing, and I'll record the guitar and bass, and you will find a vocalist to do like some like Eddie Leeway style, like like I was like we'll do some like Glassjaw, like Eddie Leeway shit like that, like fucking super like melodic, super out there. No one's doing that anymore. Like I have this vision. So it's easy to just rope him in. You know what I mean? He was into
Yeah.
the music. He loved the music as well. He was living on my sofa. I was like, let's go jam. Fucking it was so
Perfect.
easy. Yeah, it was the perfect thing.
Family.
Yeah, family. It was like I didn't have to go and find people and see if it was going to be good, and just be like, oh, do you want to play this? Like it was like he's my brother. We're just chilling. It wasn't really too serious, but he would be down with the vision. So then it just like became we played for a few hours, and it was good. And then by chance, our guitar player Louis just walked in because he was there to jam with my brother after, because they were in a band together. And I was like, dude, listen to these songs. And he was wearing a Crown of Thorns t-shirt. And like that was,
Train Yard Blues.
yeah, he had the training out t-shirt, and that was the vibe. That was like exactly what I was trying to push, that kind of side of New York hardcore, and Long Island sounds. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, that was like my main goal, because like no one was doing anything like that around me at the time. Like no one was really pushing any melody, and I like really wanted to do it because, like I said, I grew up. The first songs I heard had big choruses, and that stayed with me my whole life. And yeah, so he just walked in, and I was like, check this out. And he played a riff, and I was like, well, that can be the verse, because I have these other two. I have a chorus and a thing. I grabbed another guitar, we jammed together. And then we're like, cool. Well, I guess you're in the band. And then it just kind of like, I was like, well, I've got these 3 other songs. So let's learn them, and let's record a demo and try and find a vocalist. And then yeah, it just kind of like happened like that. Like, and then Ethan heard the demo. I ended up doing vocals. Like I've never done vocals in my life up until the demo. Like I said, I got on stage and I'd shout it as a little kid as well. I'm just literally shouting like a little kid. Same in my like oi punk band, I'm just going oi oi oi. Like I've never tried to sing. I've never tried anything. I've loved it my whole life, but I've never tried it. Do you know what I mean? Like I've always been an admirer.
Yeah.
of that.
Not in a way where you're like, hey, I'm putting together a song, and now I got to try and capture this idea of I want to put big choruses
Yeah.
in and I'm going to take that endeavor on. That's not an easy thing to. That's not a
No.
small amount.
Yeah. So I've been taking those ideas in, but I wasn't one of those people that would like learn covers and sing them. Like I just never like vocals I'd love, but I'd never tried. But I ended up being the singer and singing on the demo. But even then, still, I thought I would not. We would find someone else, and I could go back to playing like guitar or bass. I was like, yeah, I'll just do this, and then we'll find someone else. But then you know how it is nowadays with the internet. It goes up online. Your friends send it to each other. Check this out. Oh, you sing in this band, like, and I'm like, oh fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, it's already like the thing that you're intending to do. It's one thing that's really interesting is that bands now, I think because things, at least they have the possibility to circulate so fast. It's not like
Yeah.
you can kind of be shitty for like 3 years and all of a sudden get great.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
It was like I was just
and now I'm the singer. Guess what?
Yeah. Dude, I sucked like so bad. I had no idea. I didn't know anything. Yeah. But then I was thrown, like, in a way, it's a good thing I was thrown into it. Yeah, Higher Power just formed. I think, like I said, it was right place, right time again. Like, no one was doing that. Like, no one was, no, there wasn't a band that sounded like the influences we were doing with clean vocals. Like, there was a lot of bands doing the kind of thing, but like with shouting. And I think we were just lucky that I was just kind of brave enough to try it. And then it kind of worked out. Do you know what I mean? It was just like,
yeah. I think that a lot of that though is I was having this conversation with Brian from Incendiary about the interview I did with Paul from Blood Incantation.
Yeah.
The thing about certain bands, I think that they start off maybe more with a point of view and an idea, and then they're like, I want to try and just get to that place.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of a really like a different thing. So I feel like you're like, hey, I want to kind of find this hardcore, post-hardcore sound. I want to like do some shit. And now I'm going after this. And that's a really different way of coming up with a band and be like, hey, I want to sound like Earth Crisis and Snapcase and Bye.
Yeah.
And so I think that leaves you open to more experimentation, things of that kind of nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
dude, because like I said, I like all music. Like I just liked everything. So I was like super stoked. I was always I wasn't just like into hardcore. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't just like, oh, this is it now. This is me. Like I'd always experimented on my own with playing different types of music, and like I listened to a lot, and I was just open to be in any band. You know what I mean? I was just like open, and that's what like I always wanted to bring back with Higher Power. And it was also like slightly born out of frustration because at the time I was in a band called Shrapnel, and everyone in that band's my friend. Do you know what I mean? But at the time it was like it was just like, oh, we sound like Breakdown, and we sound like Altercation, and we sound like New York hardcore, but there was nothing else outside of it. There was like, and I was getting really frustrated because I've always wanted to progress. Like in anything I do, I want to keep, and I just felt like I was like really like bored of just like, you know, just doing a band, writing a 7-inch, then breaking up, and then like because the members would change you know what I mean, it'd be like, oh, let's do this style, and then it would change, and eventually that just got boring. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, eventually you're like, oh wait, this isn't very progressive, like, and I felt very boxed in to like being within this certain scene and this sound, and I was just like, I want to do something.
A lot of times, you know, hardcore and punk at certain points can be liberating, and like any other style of music, at certain points when you play, maybe it's liberating. At certain points, it's just And if you're trying to go further and find new ways of doing things, maybe you have to go outside of the sounds that you're hearing at the moment.
And it was like, for me, I'd been playing in punk bands for so young, and I know a lot of the people around me maybe started a bit later, so they were still like very stoked on everything. And it's not like I was jaded. I was just like, oh, I've been doing this since I was like 12 years old. I really want to try and do something melodic now. Like I really want to try and do like, and I wasn't really worried about the perception or what scene it was in, or like, you know what I mean? I wasn't worried what people would think, which like I found a lot of my peers at the time, being the age we were, you know, like early 20s, were very much like scared to give away that they were into like something a bit softer or something a bit, do you know what I mean? Like they, you know, it wasn't cool to be like, oh, I listen to emo, and it wasn't cool to be like, oh, I like the Smashing Pumpkins. It was all like, it was all very much like hardcore. And I was like, I just started getting a bit like, oh, I don't want to pretend this. I'm not insecure about anything. So I was like, oh no, I listen to everything. And you know, it was like, oh, that stuff's shit. Yeah. That stuff's like wuss music. Do you know what I mean? So I was, yeah. And I was a bit like,
for sure. I think there's an element of groupthink and stuff like that that can
kind of play. Especially at that age, man. Especially at that age, like you know, when you're like, it's very much like, this is me. And then as you get older, people let their guards down a bit. And I just kind of just was like, you know, I think maybe I was just like a little bit ahead of the curve on just letting my guard down and being like, no, I want to do something like progressive, and I don't care whether you think it's hardcore or whether you think it's cool, like, or whether it sounds like this or whether it's going to fit into anything. I was just like, I kind of wanted to be a little bit provocative in a way as well.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I was like,
yeah, it's funny. Pepper Keenan from Corrosion of Conformity. He said, yeah, when he took over the band and they got kind of a little bit more, you know, like,
yeah, that's my favorite. The one he sang, the record he sang on is like my favorite Corrosion of Conformity record.
He started on Blind and then he moved from there, and he was saying how, you know, they were, Animosity is one of the great crossover records, but he's like, man, you know, when I thought we were good, when we started pissing our own scene off. Like, it's such a great moment. I forget what interview I saw it, and I was like, oh, yeah, kind of, right? Because he was like, I just, you know, I'm at the helm now, and I'm taking this a different way. So let's ask you a question, though. When did you start really becoming more comfortable with your voice and being like, you know what, I am the fucking singer of this band, and now I feel like things started settling in a little bit more, as opposed to being like, oh, man, like, this is sort of happening and it's kind of going, but now it's like, well, this is my band, I'm the singer. And when did a moment of kind of like confidence come in where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking do this, I'm good at this?
I would literally say the only time I've ever felt like, okay, I'm doing okay, I'm progressing, is literally when we just did the last album. Like, I was like, I remember doing the demos for it, and we were like recording the demos, and I was like, dude, I'm in too deep. Like, I'm in too fucking deep. I can't. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, man. Like, I can't sing. Like, it's not just something you can learn in a few months. Like, it took me so long because I never really used my voice before. I'm quite soft-spoken in a way. I'm not very like loud. I'm not very confrontational. I don't speak up a lot. So just in general, like, using my voice and being the front man, like, was fucking like a big, it took me longer than it probably would take a lot of other people to figure out just how to use my voice in general. And then I think it was like towards the end of recording 27 Miles that I was kind of like, oh, I can go in and do a couple of I can go in and do a song in like 2 or 3 takes. Do you know what I mean? I was like, it's finally clicking. Like, and I kind of like was doing like the more shouty bits, and that wasn't hurting my voice, and I wasn't so much trying to sound like at first I very much just tried to sound like Mina Caputo and like Alice in Chains, and then I was like, kind of towards the end of recording that record, I was like, oh, I'm kind of like not using so much of like a fake voice anymore. Like, And it's because, and then we did the tour straight after. We toured America in like January, and I was like,
Yeah, we did that show with Vane.
yeah, we
Yeah,
did
we
with
did
Dave.
that show together. Yeah. I
Yeah. Oh,
remember.
that's sick. That's sick.
Yeah.
And I started feeling like a bit better on those tours of like, it was like kind of clicking a little bit. Like, obviously, I know, like I said, singing's not just like something for me, especially. It wasn't just something that like I could just do. I was very good. I'm very good at acting on stage. Like I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like good at pretending everything's fine, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool. I'm here to sing. But
Yeah.
deep down, underneath it all, I don't know. Like we never do covers really because I can't learn covers. I can't learn other people's melodies so well. I've only just started being like since this lockdown. I got an acoustic guitar and I started playing and singing at the same time and just really practicing other people's songs. It was like we couldn't learn covers before because I'd always be like, oh, I can't sing that. I can't sing someone else's song. I can't learn their words. Like,
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody in the comments asked that about like if you know have ever did any covers, and I'm like, I don't think so, right?
we
But
did covers, but I would play bass on them. We would all switch up. Like that was the thing. It'd be like, yo, we'll do covers and I'll play bass and Ethan can sing this, and then Ethan can go on drums and my brother can sing this one, and we'd all switch instruments because I would be like, I would try and avoid singing other people's songs because I was like, I can't do that. Like I had no idea how. Like.
I can't sing that George Michael song. Impossible. But yeah,
Exactly.
I totally I feel you on finding your voice and your place and stuff like that. I was
Yeah.
when we started Primitive Weapons, and that was like Chris from On the Mighty Princes, Artie from
Yeah.
Mind
Oh,
Under.
dude, On the Mighty Princes is so good. Like,
Yeah,
fuck.
and I'm
I wish
like
there
I'm
was.
playing with people who I really respect, who really know what
Yeah.
they're doing, in my opinion, at least. And like I had to
Yeah.
figure a lot of things out, and the band went well, but it was a big learning curve, and being able to just open yourself up to just like letting it go and becoming yourself, which is
Yeah. Dude,
fucking hard.
I remember the first time Higher Power went on tour in like Europe. I didn't know that you could like lose your voice so easy, and I didn't know that like I didn't know you had to rest. I didn't know you had to sleep. I didn't know you had to drink water. I was literally like no one around me could sing at all. Like no one. Like I'd never been in bands with people that sing or did warm ups or like that was just like not alien to me, especially through hardcore and punk. So like the first ever time Higher Power toured Europe, I was like screaming and we were all and we're all in the van, we're jumping around over the seats and wrestling and screaming and we're putting on songs. And by the time we'd even got to like from Leeds, the 4 hour drive to the ferry to cross over to Europe, I completely lost my voice. And I was like, I'd not even played a show yet, and I was just fucking around. I didn't sleep the night before, like fucking. I remember I just was like, what is this? Why is this happening? Like, what the fuck? Like, I've never, and obviously being a singer, I'd never noticed anything like that in my voice. I'd never noticed any changes in my voice before. Like, I'd never be like, oh, I've been talking too much. Like, like, I'd never. I was just
Yeah,
so
it's
like,
like you don't even know how to like kind of tune your instrument. I had a lot
yeah,
of the same things happen to me as well. Like just like I like to drink, I like to stay out late,
yeah,
and like that. And I'm like, wow, this is day 8 of this, huh? And like it's
yeah.
still shaky. I gotta fucking calm down, or whatever.
Dude, learning all that stuff, I was like, the more I learned, the more stressed out I got as well. The more I learned, the more I was like, fuck, I'm in too deep, man. We've got these tours. Like, I'm never going to make it through a fucking 6 week tour. Fucking this. The more I was learning what to do, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Like, I was just like, oh, fuck. But now I'm learning it. It's fucking good. It's fine. But
Yeah. It's a whole different level. It's like you
yeah,
play yourself. You're like an athlete, right? It's
yeah,
like a whole other thing. So from my point of view, when I discovered Higher Power,
yeah.
I heard about it through Ricky Singh, CEO of Flat Spot Records, my fucking
Yeah,
talent hardcore brother. I
he's the
love
best.
the dude, and
Yeah,
and you know, Ricky was just like, "Yo, I think you would love this band. Like, this is a band for you. Like,
yeah,
legitimately." It's like nobody's doing. You know, I was in Weapons was kind of a mix of post-hardcore and metal, and he's like, "Dude,
yeah.
this is a post-hardcore band, like the way that you want it. Die 116, Mind Over Matter.
Yeah,
Like, dude, this hits a lot of stuff. And it's like, if you don't like this shit, I would not even. I was like, damn, okay, all right, I'll listen to it. And I was like, I loved it. And I think, well, you guys you really did start mixing that melody and that groove, and then just kind of building upon it. And I think that the latest record is like the best achievement of that, as you guys kind
yeah,
of continue to progress and like teasing that out. That's why I
yeah,
asked about the singing aspect of it, because I feel like from record to record, from when I started to get on board, I was like, oh, all right, I kind of get what these guys are doing, and I feel it. But then on this new one, I feel like you even started to step outside of like this sort of like New York
yeah,
lexicon
yeah, for
and
sure.
becoming even more of yourself, even more alternative, like
Yeah,
grungy things like that. What was the kind of thought process behind expanding the sound that one step further?
like I feel like if Higher Power, so Higher Power is just one of those bands that did too much too quickly, because I feel like if we'd just practiced, you know, we'd never practiced. It was always just shows, tours, this. We literally from the beginning, it was like practice was practice, and playing together in a room was the last objective. It was just straight away like tour, doesn't matter, keep going, keep going. And it really kind of fucked us over in a sense that like I feel like 27 we would have got to 27 miles the way we're sounding on 27 miles underwater so much quicker if we had just spent maybe like a year just playing together, practicing, listening to ourselves back, really critiquing ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Like we kind of would just be like it was like our first tour was America. Like we'd played 3 shows in the UK. 2 of them we only played 3 songs. And then it was like, oh, do you want to come play United Blood? Oh, do you want to do this tour around it with like Angel Dust and that? And we were like, well, we better write some more songs for that then, and we better release a tape for that. So we don't just have 3 songs in a set. And we literally flew to America and played like a 5-song set, like fucking. So it was just straight. It wasn't really like thinking too much about what we were doing in the songwriting side. Like we'd always had this idea. Well, I'd always had these ideas, and melody was always the key, and like pushing it like that. But we'd never had the time to really explore how to do that. And then it was always like, that's why it sounded a lot more New York hardcore and a lot more, you know, those influences, because we knew that already. That was easy to us. We'd all been in bands that had done that 100 times, but we just add a bit of melody. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh,
Yeah.
we'll add this bit of melody here. And then, because we could do that, and that was quick and easy for us. But with 27 Miles, we like actually like spent like a lot of time playing together and writing and scrapping a lot of songs and being like, this bit's too obvious. Like, where can it go? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I think sometimes those deadlines are good to kind of just be like, you know what, we have to finish something. Like we're done now. Like
yeah,
let's just go. But it makes sense that you would fall into something that's more just comfortable, right? Like,
yeah,
right. And if you want to kind of grow, and again, the objectives kind of change, right? If the objectives are to go and hit the road,
yeah,
that's one thing. But if it's about growing the sound, this is more of a soul searching kind of thing. I feel like, you know,
yeah,
like I
for
think
sure, man,
about
for
Mike
sure.
from Yob at his like Mike from Yob just sitting there playing acoustic guitar, figuring out the next great Doom record. You know, like
Yeah,
just people and how they kind of find it. So you guys had to find how to broaden your horizon pretty much just by
yeah,
playing.
yeah. We just didn't get a class. I think it definitely speaks of how the world is now as well. It's like you don't think, you just keep doing and you keep consuming. And I think we were kind of doing that. We weren't like, we did, like I said, I think we took on too much too young as a band and didn't give ourselves the time to really fucking open up the vision and take it to where we knew it could go and what we wanted it to go. We were just kind of like, you know, just very much just consumed by like this fast, easy living. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
I think it's very typical now, like in this, you know, age of quarantine, right?
yeah,
It's like, I think the whole world has a moment, even though it's kind of perpetuated by this awful disease, to kind of sit back and reflect for a minute.
reflect, yeah.
We don't get that often, and we're seeing that, you know, maybe a lot of things are fucked up in the world, and you know, whether it's justice, economic justice, or we're sitting with ourselves too, like our total selves. And sometimes when you sit with yourself, you're like, you know what? Writing these songs, we really didn't take as much time as we should have. Or I think maybe we can go a step further, right? And that reflection, I think, is important in art and in life.
Yeah, like it's not like I'm not proud of them, and I like them. I think they're cool, and they definitely got us to where we are. But
great records, I love them too.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But like, I was never satisfied. I was like, no, I know there's more to this. There's definitely more to this. There's potential, but we've not quite figured out how to step outside of ourselves and all this stuff going on and just really like play. Do you know what I mean? Just and reach that goal. So
definitely, for sure. And it's great because I feel it. I feel like, oh, okay, they've embraced like their true, like, fuller, wider set of influences, and now it's becoming something else, and that to me is exciting for the listener, because I want to keep listening more.
In this lockdown, I've written like another record, and it's like I'm like, people are either gonna hate this or they're just gonna think it's super progressive. But I'm like, dude, I want to get the next record out and not get it out, but I want to start playing and writing new songs, because I know now we've tapped into this on 27 Miles. We've opened up a whole other side. And then I'm like, well, we can try these tunings and we can do this. And now we can incorporate more melody, and we know how to do it. And we're not scared, and we're like open to everything. Like, I've started writing more, and I'm just writing like a song every day where it's just like so fucking, and I'm so excited to keep going. Do you know what I mean? But I'm also like, now I know not to rush it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what this lockdown's been so good for, is I've just had all the time in the world every day to just sit and reflect on everything and just sit and play guitar and I really think about everything that I'm doing to like the fucking smallest detail and just write. Do you know what I mean? I can just sit down and write and like think and listen back, and I have the time to listen back without it being like, oh, do you reckon you'll be ready to put this on a demo? Do you reckon we'll be ready to do this? It's like, I could just sit on a song for 2 weeks and really fucking study it and try different options. And it's like, and all these new melodies and stuff that like, now I've started going down that path. It's just like, wow. And I can't wait to see where we go now. Like,
sure. And especially because you know the success of how having a little bit of patience in this very impatient world where it's kind of gone you. So we got 90 seconds left. So before we kind of like close up, I just want to thank you for taking the time.
So I did.
Late out in Leeds, and we really appreciate, you know, you had taken the time and talking to us, and you know, the band's great, and we can't wait to have you guys back at Vitus whenever the world allows us to.
Yeah. Dude, thank you. I know you offered us to play there before, and I lost my voice. So I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm scared, but I can't wait to come hang out and like talk about music and see Saint Vitus. So.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. You take care of yourself.
Dude, I appreciate it.
And I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Peace.